Before we get started, I just want to point out that there is a cat that will be sleeping behind where I'm going to be sitting, and there's a good chance he comes down at some point or knocks some books onto my head. Should maybe move this one. I can't. There's a foot. Yeah, something's probably gonna fall on my head. It's all his fault if it does. Welcome to another TBR video. August is kind of that in-between season, it's a month, where I feel like we're leaving summer behind, but we're not quite into fall yet. And my plan for August is to have a lot of comfort reads, just enjoy my reading. I've been trying to take this summer to not push myself to necessarily read educational things. I just felt like I needed a bit of a break and just wanted to read for fun for a few months. So August is my last month for that. So I created some quick little TBR cards because I just wanted them for this month. Made a few errors. I'll go over what they are. I do not care enough to change it because it's just for right now. I have a bunch of books on my TBR cart, more books on my shelf behind me. I'm going to be pulling from there. I have a few library books. I have a few books that I need to read for various reasons. Before we get into any of the actual books, I want to show you what I put on these cards. This is a 1 month only thing where I put what are to me really fun things on the cards. So my first error is this one is shorter than the others. Do I care? No. Will I cheat? Probably not. So my first one is indie, where I pick a book by an indie author or with a small publisher. I mentioned in my last book haul slash changing how I buy books, I really want to support indie authors. So this one will be there for that. My second mistake, I didn't even notice this until I had it cut out and was gluing it. This is supposed to say first sentence. No, it says fist sentence. But whatever, we're leaving it. I know it's supposed to mean first sentence. For this one, I'm just going to be reading the first sentence of like probably about 3 books that are interesting to me and reading the one that has the best first sentence in my opinion. Most of these are the same as last month if you watched last month's TBR video, other than indie. And the reason I went with the cards instead of the TBR wheel is because I always have technical errors when I'm trying to edit those videos. So I'm making it simple on myself. Next up is Patreon pick. So my patrons gave a list of books for me to read that they would be interested in me reading. So if this comes up, I will look at that list and do a random number generator to pick one. Next up is gifted. So these are books gifted to me. Some of them have been gifted by authors or publishers or friends. So there's that one. This one kind of came and made my life difficult last month, but it's emoji. And once again, if you didn't see last month's video, this means that I did create a TBR wheel for this, or a spinner wheel, where my patrons picked a bunch of emojis and I need to read a book that has something to do with that emoji. There are some hard ones, but we got the hardest one, in my opinion, out of the way. So there's that. And then the last one is a 5-star prediction, which just means I gotta read a book that I think I'm gonna give 5 stars to. So it's pretty simple. To me, these are all prompts that I'm really excited about. I feel like they can help me round out a really good TBR. As always, I probably will not get to all the books I put on my TBR. I like to mood read throughout, but it's still a lot of fun for me to create a TBR each month, so I don't see myself ever not doing this. Before we get into it, I am doubling up. So my patron of the month for August has chosen a book, and it works for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge. So I decided for the second half of the year, I'm gonna go with the Doyle side. If you missed my original Read Your Bookshelf challenge announcement, this year we've got Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Lucy Maud Montgomery, and there's different prompts for each side and at different times you can cross over. I spent the first half of the year with Lucy Maud Montgomery. Now I am switching over to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and that prompt for that one is to read a house on the cover. Lucy Maud Montgomery's was water on the cover, which I have a lot more books for that option, but this works too. So Ready Player One is the book that my patron of the month chose, and there is a bunch of like campers on the cover, which they're supposed to be mobile homes, like the other kind of mobile home, I think. But in this book, our main character lives in one of these campers or mobile homes that's stacked upon each other, so it works. I have already started it because she had started it as well, not overly far, but this is going to cover both of those for this month. I'm also going to be reading Death Comes as the End. This is the Agatha Christie Patreon book club pick for the month. So I don't remember, I don't think this one follows a detective at all, or at least mine doesn't say that it does. I had a whole video just before the year explaining which books we'd be reading and a little bit as to why. I forgot that I was going to read the first paragraph of each book, so let's start with this. I didn't even tell you what it's about. It's about a world a few years from now, really. I think it's like the 2040s, where life kind of sucks. Things have gone down environmentally, but there is a virtual video game that is huge, and our main character is trying to look for the Easter eggs to inherit this guy's fortune. There's a lot of references to 80s everything, like music, video games, all of it. I've heard that this book is going to have some mature themes. I haven't got there yet. So far it's a really big nod to the 80s. The first paragraph of chapter 1 says, "I was jolted awake by the sound of gunfire in one of the neighboring stacks. The shots were followed by a few minutes of muffled shouting and screaming, then silence." So, yeah, not very far yet, but I've already started this one. And then for Death Comes as the End, it says it's Egypt in 2000 BC, where death gives meaning to life. At the foot of a cliff lies the broken, twisted body of Nofrit, concubine to a Ka priest. Young, beautiful, and venomous, most agree that it was fate. She deserved to die like a snake. I really don't know. Is this actually... The action of this book, this is an author's note, takes place on the west bank of the Nile about 2000 BC. There's a little bit more of an author's note, which I'll read at some point. That's interesting. She's had quite a few books set in Egypt before, and I believe, wasn't it her second husband that was into like archaeology stuff? I still need to read her autobiographies and everything. So chapter 1 says second month of inundation, 20th day. And then I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the character right off the bat. Renaissance stood looking over the Nile. A very short first paragraph. This is gonna be very different. I don't think I'm gonna like it, but that's just a guess. Who knows? We'll see. I've been doing a video each month over on Patreon as I read it. A little bit of a vlog, a little bit of sharing of my ideas of what's going to happen. Most of the time I'm very wrong. Yeah, so I'm gonna continue that, do it for that book in August. Then there's a bunch of Christian booktubers that have a book club, and this month the genre that was chosen is nonfiction, so I wanted to read Brant Hansen's Life is Hard, God is Good, Let's Dance. I bought this for my daughter for Easter, and she really enjoyed it, and it was like a selfish buy. I knew I wanted to read it too, so now I finally get to. This is Experiencing Real Joy in a World Gone Mad, and I've loved all the other books I've read by him. I still have not read The Men We Need. I know that one's meant for men, but I still want to read it. So this one says, "It's true that the world is filled with tragedy, anxiety, injustice, and anger. So can we really have joy, a deep sense of well-being, regardless of circumstances? Yes. It's not only possible, but entirely appropriate. And it's not about being naive about the world or knowing less about what's happening. It's about knowing more. As you read about what God is doing in the world, you will learn to be at peace in a world of anger and anxiety, completely trust the character and promises of God, and live each day with a joyful, simple faith." His writing is always hilarious, like it's laugh out loud funny, but also super deep, and I don't know, I don't know if I can really compare him to anyone else. Okay, so I could start with chapter 1, which is what I usually do, but I just briefly saw a little bit of the first 2 paragraphs of chapter 0 called One Weird Kid. and I think this is what I'm gonna have to read. There's a meme that's a photo of a golden retriever in a helicopter pilot seat with a headset on, his paws on the controls, and the caption is, "I have no idea what I'm doing." That one has always spoken to me. My name is Brant, and I am that dog. I feel like we can all relate to being that person sometimes, or that dog. Yeah, so this is gonna be a really good read. Hopefully I can spread it out throughout the month, but I tend to just fly through his books because they're so good. Okay, that's already 3 books I have to read this month, and I have one more, and that is Hind's Feet on High Places. This is Krista's Christian book club pick, so she's been doing one every 3 months, I think. I joined in for the Screwtape Letters in February. Then they did The Hiding Place in May. I was moving, so I made no promises for that and didn't get to reread it. And now Hind's Feet on High Places is August's book. There is a few live events going on. You can check out her channel for that information. I have never read this book. I know that it is an allegory and that Holly loves it, but I haven't read it. I'm often not huge on allegory, but there have been a few times where I've loved it. It's a beautiful allegory dramatizing the yearning of God's children to be led to new heights of love, joy, and victory. Let's see what chapter 1 says. Chapter 1, Invitation to the High Places. This is the story of how Much Afraid escaped from her fearing relatives and went with the shepherd to the high places where perfect love casteth out fear. And yes, for what I heard before, like, it's an allegory very much in the same way as Pilgrim's Progress, which I read so many years ago and enjoyed. So hopefully I'll like it. And I'm going to be joining in with Krista's lives. So there's like a few different chapters. At certain points we will stop and have lives kind of thing. Like I said, she'll have all that information on her channel. So 4 books I have to read. Now I just want to pick a bunch of books for fun from these prompt cards, which I'm just going to shuffle and not peek at because one of them is way smaller than the other because someone failed. Okay. So I need to do it this way. I don't know if they're upside down or not. I'm not looking at them. But I can't see what they are. I'm going to randomly pull out one, making sure to look at you guys so I'm not looking over there so I don't see it. Let's go with this one. I usually like to go for the middle. So what does that say? I can't even tell. Okay, 5-star prediction. That is the perfect way to start. So I do have a few books out from the library right now. There's one hiding behind here. This is the Jamie Jo Wright. I have a feeling I might try that one even before August actually hits. So a 5-star prediction. I mean, I have so many books that I'm excited to read. I just barely hauled these 2 and I'm kind of leaning towards one of them. Based on some of the themes I know in this book, Where Darkness Dwells by Andrea Renee, I kind of want it to be this book. I feel bad that it's the start of a series, but I don't think there's any more books out yet. So technically I would still be caught up with this series. So it says, a land plagued with darkness and grief is all Amira knows, but when luminescent creatures appear in the veil, her inborn gift awakens and allows her to see the shadows for what they are. This one I, like just barely shared in my last video, but it's really cool. Every first page of the chapter is black. I don't know, seems like, oh, that's not even that big of a thing, but it makes it look so cool. And it's got a map and some kind of poem, and I will read the first paragraph. Oh yes, in the book haul, I read the first 2, so we'll go with that. Chapter 1 is Amira. I have known darkness all my life. The Vale folk say it isn't sinister. It should not be feared. It is for our good. For 17 years, I've pretended to accept it. But when my eyes are closed, I imagine I can see everything that lies around me for miles and miles. When sleep takes me, I dream of lights that burn unimaginably bright and banish every hint of shadow. Yeah, this one sounds good. I follow her on Instagram and she has a photo that has like the different themes and stuff in the book, which of course, can I remember any of them right now? No, but it sounded really good. They sounded like ones I'd be interested in, and last I knew this book was majorly on sale in Canada and decently on sale in the States. So check the description if you're interested in the book. I'll have the links for it, and maybe it's still on sale. Okay, that's a good start. So I'll shuffle them. Which way is which? Okay, this way's upright. I'll shuffle them through a few times. Purposely leave them all different sizes so I don't know which one's which. That one. Okay, this one says gifted. So a book that was gifted to me either by the author or a friend. So I've said before, The World of Jeeves is a book that was gifted to me. That one is really tempting. What else do I have on here that was gifted? I don't think any of these books were, so I'm gonna just push this away right now. We can look at my shelf a little bit. Let's see. I just barely got this one in the mail today. The Enchanted Lives of Celeste. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I don't know what letter that's supposed to be. But that one sounds really interesting. It's huge. This is by Ryan Grodin, and I've enjoyed so many of her books. All of her books that I've read. Another one is Exile, but this one is part of a series. It is the Realm Makers Award finalist. That's pretty cool. I've got Rosefire. I wanted to read this one a couple months ago and didn't get to it. And Mantles of Oak and Iron. I'm leaning towards one of these three. This is book 2 in the Turum Archive after The Orb and the Airship. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a random number generator because sometimes I just can't make decisions. So this will be number 1, number 2, and number 3. And we will see what gets picked because decision fatigue is real and I don't know if this is how I need to spend my brain space. Okay, numbers 1 through 3, and we'll hit generate. And the number that came up was 1. Will it show you? Number 1 is the winner. So number 1 is Mantles of Oak and Iron, which is great because this means I get to continue a series that I've started. This is by Janelle Leanne Schmidt, and book 1 we followed 2 friends that were kind of like going off to university. Them and this wizard that'd been stuck in a tower for like 200 years, and on their way they got attacked by they're in an airship, so they got attacked by pirates in their airship. So it says Graydon thought he had 4 years to decide his future. He was wrong. War is imminent. I don't really want to read too much here because I don't want to give spoilers, but we'll see if we can read the first paragraph. This is pretty cool. This one has their own calendar. So this is the months of the year and what they relate to in our calendar year. Their new year begins September 21st, and their year is 336 days long because each month is 28 days, which would make things easier. A couple cool maps. Chapter 1. Dalmer stood on the deck of the airship, holding the sleeping girl in his arms, as the Valduin hawk alighted on the glistening surface of the large pond. He stared over the railing at their destination. So I really enjoyed book 1, and I felt like it was just like really wrapping up. So about time that I continue in this world. That's good. Let's shuffle around. If I pick a card twice, I'll pull it out. Otherwise, anything's up for grabs. I can... This one. What's this one say? It says gifted again. Oh, it's gonna focus. There we go. Another gifted one. Okay, so I'm gonna set that apart and we will do a random number generator between these two because I was just talking about them. So Exile will be 1, Rosefire will be 2, numbers 1 and 2. Let's see, generate, and number 2 is picked, which means it's Rosefire, which is good because this is a series, so I can wait a little bit longer on starting a series because I think there's more out in that one. I don't even really know. So Rosefire is by Carolyn Claire Givens, Perhaps it is a coincidence that Anya arrived on Karan's doorstep, without a past and with great skill in magic, the same night the Crown Prince Lauren died. But Karan is not certain she believes in coincidence anymore. Or Karen? I don't know if this one has pronunciation, but I feel like that's always a good thing to have in a fantasy book, or when you're gonna change how things are spelled. Okay, let's go to the chapter 1. Some might say it was coincidence that Anya arrived on our doorstep the very same night the heir to the throne died, but I'm not sure I believe in coincidence anymore. Okay, I feel like we're like jumping right in. It bothers me when the back of a book over explains the story. It's like, well, now I don't even need to read the story because you just told me everything that happens. So if the back is going to say the same thing as like the first page, that's perfect for me. Okay, my stack is looking this big so far. I think I'm going to do 2 more because I have a few plans for the month, reading plans, and want to have some mood reading in. The stack that I read this month is really big, so we'll see if I read as much in August. Okay, what we got here? This one. Oh, okay. We are like on theme here because now we're going with indie or small publisher, which I have a few of. And I think I have an idea of which one I want to do. Oh, I packed this too tight. I bought this book for myself for my birthday. This is The Testimony of Bendigo Fletcher by Kira F. Jacobs. And I believe it's indie published or a small publisher. It says Ironcroft Publishing, but I think this will work. I don't remember anything about it now. Bendigo Fletcher is destined to end up in the family herb business, bound to his treehouse village of Whimselin until death. In the world of Tarsha, death is the true end for all things, an eternal black void. It's been this way since the Twilights. An army of dark spirits invaded Tarsha and stole the afterlife from the people 400 years ago. When the sacred book of prophecy, hidden in Whimselin for centuries, opens, it reveals that Bendigo must leave his village to find a man named Dagon, who has the power to reclaim the afterlife. Desperate for the hope of life after death, Bendigo accepts the quest, taking his best friend Willie, the girl whom Whimselin detests, with him. I saw this one on Instagram. This is like my thing lately. Everything is, I find all my books on Instagram. It sounded good. Okay. Oh, there's actually pronunciation here. It's Whimsalon. Okay. First paragraph is very long. Let's see here. Bendigo Fletcher bent over to roll up his linen pant legs. The water in the woodland marshes had risen since the last rainfall. Even though he was on the outskirts of Whimsalon, where the marshes would dry up, giving way to packed muddy ground, the swamp was unusually deep. He rolled his pants to the bottom of his calves, but decided the water was still too high, so he pulled the cloth to just below his kneecaps and chuckled at how he now looked like one of Whimsalon's gardening women. I don't get a whole lot from that, but we will see how the book goes. So I think it makes sense for me to stop here. I have other reading plans for the month, and I mean, like, this is a decent amount of books, but I've been flying through them lately. It was so funny. 2 months in a row this Patreon pick didn't get picked. This time I'm sad the emoji didn't get picked, but I'm going to carry that over for sure. I would love to hear what you guys plan on reading in August. Are there any books that you guys are super excited about? And out of all the books on my TBR, what are you most excited for me to read?